Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, now welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant Brooks, and this episode we're going to talk about symbiotic relationship, bro. Symbiotic relationship. Because I said to get the science dream alive is like something that I realized when I'm doing this 9 to 5 journey is that I said this 9 to 5 when it wasn't this 9 to 5 wouldn't be as benefit to me back then. Back then when I just left university that it than it is now, because now I'm I have a new lens, new view on life. I understand the different skills, different skills that you kind of really need to really take that science stuff to the next level. Because as I said, science has reached far, but the thing about it is that it's not it's not solidified as yet. And I would want to explain, but I guess I have to explain why. Because the reason why science has not solidified as it. If you realize, all the greatest scientists in the world, the greatest or pioneers of scientists and stuff like that, and all the greatest scientists that we all praise, that we read about in the books and all those stuff, all of them are dead. So that's the reason why science hasn't solidified as it. You have reached a point where a scientist has lived long enough to actually make their part of science solidify. They just came along and either made a contribution, and that contribution solidified them in the history books. But they never live long enough to actually do to contribute as the much needed, so they can become well established craft in the field where when they died, like for example, suppose the person that came up with the field of toxicology. There's okay live long enough to say okay to get that field. I said the guy who make toxicologists. it, it's a long time ago, way back in the past, way back in the past. So I said, suppose the guy that made toxology, did had that vision of toxology. That's the thing. He never had the vision of toxicology that we talk about. No, he just know he just made this thing that says, okay, everything is a poison depending on everything is a poison depending on the amount or quantity. Uh, are the person that said no? That's not the saying. The saying is everything is a poison or a cure depending on the quantity. Yeah, I don't remember who said that. I think, but that was a person. I think they came up with the field of toxicology, or that's under the field. But suppose that person but as I said, that person he could have done a lot. He could have done a lot of stuff, but he's dead, and the only thing that I have from him is that quote. Is that quote. So that's it. It's really hard to make a dream come alive. It's really hard to make a dream come alive. So so you understand that guy, that quote is very important in science. Very important. Very important. But that's the only thing he could get to contribute before he died, bro. That's the only thing he could get to contribute before he died. For sure. That's to show you how hard this field is. Every field. There's no joke. Every field is hard. I think about it that, as I said, I think I mentioned in the dreams versus reality. It's one thing to have the dream, but when you make it a reality, the next phase, the next phase is to solidify it. So, like for example, the home. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm being a homeowner for the year. I need to be able to own for 2 years and able to maintain it easily, and then maintain it, own it a third year, and it being not a burden. Maybe when I own it the third year now, then I can confidently say I'm a homeowner, and then I can give you advice on how to become a homeowner, and then those advice will be very legit. So that's how you make the career solidify. Real estate. Yeah. So that's all real estate person are from. But the thing about it is that we are real estate agents now, but yet we had the 2008 financial crisis where a lot of people lost house. Why? Because real estate was not a regulated field. People just go in there because real estate can make you a lot of money, and they did a lot of bad practices. And maybe not real estate people as well, but banks as people as well. They were unregulated, and a lot of bad practices caused a lot of people to lose their home. Yeah. So as I said, to make a career solidified, where because I have the degree in biochemistry. That's one thing. That's a piece of paper that say, okay, I have a degree in biochemistry. But if you ever, if you realize, I mentioned, you never hear, well, you might have heard it once or twice in the podcast, but they don't hear me confidently say, okay, I'm a biochemist. Uh, I don't say that as yet. I say that because I got the degree, but science, to become a biochemist, it takes a lot more. It it takes a lot more. I just have the bachelor's. I just have the bachelor's. And I think about it is that I can tell how to get the bachelor's, and you'll get it. But when I leave university, you'll be just like me, trying unemployed, trying to get a job or stuff like that. So that's why I say I don't say I'm a biochemist yet. When I'm a biochemist, when I could confidently say I'm a biochemist now is when I develop, for example, if I develop my own lab, and where I put all my standards and stuff in there, and just so that I could say, okay, you can do biochemistry, get the degree, and when you're done, you can work here. You can work here because I can show you, I can teach you how to become how to do biochemistry in the real world now, and I'll just walk you through the step, just like how I'm being walked through the step to become an employee at the place that I'm working, and do the same thing so they can become an established biochemist. So that's the thing. And you can say, okay, there are a lot of biochemists in the world. Yeah, but but the thing about it is that there are so many scientists in the world, and science has gone so far. Outside of the big pioneers of science, out of the big pioneer like Albert Einstein, Newton, all those people, that has gone in the past. We in the present hasn't really do much. We done a lot of stuff that we be like, oh yes, yes, but we never really we haven't really make a significant a dent in science as it's not just like religion and stuff like that. Yeah, there's so much to explore, but we're just tipping the surface. We're just tipping the surface, tipping the surface. It's just like this podcast. This podcast has about over 200 episodes, and you won't get the true essence of this podcast until you listen to all the episodes from start to begin until now. You won't get it. You won't get it. But if you do listen it until start until the end, you get it. You'll be like, whoa, you'll be like you found gold. You'll be like, oh my god, bro, you found gold. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Because you listen from start to finish. But if you don't do that, you never see the value of it. Just like that's how science is. That's how science is. You can get a little small taste and say, "Oh yes, I'm a scientist" and stuff like that. But unless you see the real thing, like let me give an example, another example for real thing. Imagine, imagine you could go back in time, go back in time and see exactly how Albert Einstein came up with the theory of relativity, or how Newton came up with those three laws of motion. If I assume, I, I forgot if it was him that did it. So, but imagine you could do that. Imagine you could do that. That's what. That's that's what the real science. That's what the real science I'm talking about. It's so far fetched. It's so far fetched that you can't. It's so far fetched, bro. And the thing about it, and the reason why I'm telling you now is because it's so far fetched for me right now at the time of this recording. But maybe I think years from now, me in the future could actually do it, or you you in the future, a younger person younger than me that's coming up and hear this podcast will will be able to do that. Why? Because I put down the cornerstone just like how Newton and the rest of them put down the cornerstone to reach for me to reach this far so that I could put my contribution so you could take it to another level. Yeah, so that's basically a little rant about the science stuff. So back to the topic. So symbiotic relationship. So as I said, to get this science visualized, one aspect of the business of science to make science a business. And like, one of these aspects that I see is that a symbiotic relationship where, like for example, the basic thing that we do, we be working in a lab. That's one stuff. But as I mentioned before, the reason why I took this job that I was taking is I want to work on my communication because one thing that I realized is it's one thing for scientists to be able to say, okay, we can make vaccine, we can do all this, we can save a lot of these people. But one of the stuff that I realized in the real world is communication, marketing, all those other stuff. That's what the average person are into. You have to be able to communicate to them in a language that they understand. You have to be able to market in them in a way that they understand. I think about marketing in modern times now we have very negative marketing where they use marketing to do a lot of negative stuff. So we have to do ethical marketing. That's another aspect of science. That ethical marketing where we're marketing our stuff we do we're not we're not changing out the missing out the essence of what science is. You're basically marketing effectively, and there's a lot of other aspects as well of science. But the thing about it is that one company can't teach you all of that. One company can't teach you all of that, or else we'll never become an employee. But what what could happen is that there are various businesses now, or for example, if I did, there's various corporations. My big company, my one over company would have a lot of smaller companies, and be like, this part of the company is teaching you communication, or if I don't know it, I tell it like, okay, a requirement to work at my company is to actually be employed and work, for example, a year at that this place that I'm employed now. Why? Because I wanted to learn how to communicate so that when I hire you and you become a real scientist, if they call you to actually if for example another a pandemic comes, I can send you out there and say, okay, yes, you know your science and you know how to communicate. So go out there and and lead us to victory. Because why? And what and why would I do that? Because you'll be spending a year getting paid. Because as I said, the reason why you come to want to be hired by the lab is because you want to be getting paid doing your dream job. So so if you want to get paid doing a dream job, you have to be able to have the skills. So I was just sending you over to that place that I was working at and tell her, okay, take a year and work, get through the phases and work there for a year to practice your communication. Practice talking to these people that you're going to be trying to save with your science. Practice how to talk to them, get them to talk to them. And what happens is that you're making this money business and you're getting paid for a year. You're getting paid for a year. And maybe they're not getting maybe you say, okay, this guy sent me over here to get do this just so I could work at this company. I could do my own stuff. And then you go start your work based on the fact that I sent you over there. So you're making money and say, okay, I'm gonna make a rival to your company now. And be like and you make your science stuff. You make a science lab better than mine using the start that I gave you at the at that place, that customer care place that I sent you to develop your communication. And in your head, you'll be like, and you be this famous scientist, great scientist, and be like, oh yes, the reason why I made this big place was because there was a guy that had a lab that told me to go here before I could work at this place. And it's like I say, because he told me to do that, I decided, okay, I'm gonna start my own thing. I'm gonna start my own thing, and I did it and become this big place. But you're not realizing, in essence, that you're doing basically what I wanted you to do. I wanted to develop your communication so that you could take science to another level, so that everybody understands that, yo, the reason why you're such a big scientist now is because you're such a good communicator. You can communicate the sciences very effectively. Yeah, so I said that's the essence of the symbiotic relationship, where to establish the career, like for example, to establish biochemist, being a biochemist, there's a lot of different aspects, and it cannot it cannot be taught, or it could be taught, but to understand it effectively, it's best that they're they're separate industries that are just focused on one aspect of the biochemistry. That you can say, okay, I can just work here for a year to focus on this side of the biochemistry, this side of biochemistry, this side of it, and then for example maybe 3 years, 3 years. Or if you really want to, you put in the work, and within 2.5 years you have gone through all the aspects of the business that deal with the biochemistry, and then you become a full biochemist. Then you can leave my company and basically start your own lab and everything. So that's basically what symbiotic relationship is. You're basically saying, okay, I we're mutually helping each other. I'm sending you to that business so that you can learn a certain aspect. While you're making that business money, you're learning the skills, so it's a mutual benefiting the business and you. And then when you ready, feel like you learn that skill effectively, you can just come back and then I refine you in the other areas that you need to become an effective person. So that's basically a symbiotic relationship in business, the science of business. Yes, sir. But as I said, all these things are imagination. These are stuff that aren't real as yet. Aren't real as it. Or maybe it's real. Maybe it's real, but it just thing about it is that where I am, it's not that real as yet. Maybe in other places it's real. But I can't just as it as I mentioned before, I can't rush the process. Can't rush the process. All these people that I said, okay, this great scientists that are that dead or stuff like that, they couldn't rush the process. Couldn't rush the process. It's it's unfortunate that they're down, but if they rush the process, the theory of relativity and all these stuff that we have right now, we wouldn't get them. We wouldn't get them. So we had to really take the time to get the things right so that we can pass on a solid foundation to the next generation. And that's how hear me talking like a role model. Hear me talking like a role model. I told you that the podcast is in a new phase now. I told you, bro. I'm speaking like a role model, speaking like a person, inspiring people. Like, yes, we're gonna go out there. We're gonna do this. Yeah, yeah. But that's basically it for this episode. Thanks for listening. And this episode is an inspirational episode. This one is gonna get you hype for science. Be like, yo, yes, yes, yes. Is what this episode gonna come like is like? If you mentioned before, and I have spoken about Elon Musk a while, a good amount of time in this podcast. This episode is like when he unveiled one of his cool cars, he'd be like, "Yo, this is the vision," and it's like, "Yo, you're seeing the vision," and be like, "Oh, you're so excited, you're so excited." The thing about it is that the reality, we don't know when it's coming out. I can estimate it could be in a year or a year, 2 year or so, 2 years or so. But I can't tell exactly when this episode is gonna become a reality. All I know is it could become a reality, and it could become a reality. But the thing about it is that I got you hype and excited for tomorrow. I get you excited for tomorrow. So now you're going to be looking out and be like, yes, yes. What's next? What's next? What's gonna happen? Yeah, that's basically it now. So I got you excited for science. So no. No, it's time to execute. No, I'm going to say the execute. All right. Thank you for listening. And look forward for the next episode. Okay. Yes, I guess there's one thing I also forgot to mention. I guess another example, a real life example of how this symbiotic relationship stuff would work is that the first year when I came into this home, one time I think I was cleaning up the yard, and I saw this chicken. I saw this egg, and in our home. So I just leave it there. And what happened was this chicken was basically was trying to lay her eggs there, and I was keeping it safe for it to hatch. So I just left it there and made the chicken would come by every day and just sit there and just keep it eggs warm until the baby hatch, egg crack and the baby hatch. And that was it. So what happened was when I started to clean the backyard though, I started doing the real cleaning. I was digging up a lot of the garbage out of the backyard and stuff like that. What usually happened was there was a lot of cockroaches. There was a lot of cockroaches that basically was coming up because some of the back was garbage. So I was digging it up. And what happened was the same chicken that hatched and the real one, they came and started eating the cockroaches. And after a couple days, those small chicken became big. I know they became big off eating cockroaches. And so what I was talking about the symbiotic relationship, just by me not in not not just by me leaving that chicken there to just basically hatch her eggs and get her chicken, I they were able to help me get rid of the cockroaches by them eating it and getting a nutrition value and them growing to become big. And then what happened is that the chicken was for the neighbors. So what may happen is that the neighbors actually take the chicken and maybe kill them and turn it to meat. But that's an example of the symbiotic relationship that I'm talking about. Who help one help another, that helps another, that basically helps another. Even though in the end, one of them really lose. Uh, what happened is that every the chain somebody loses. So the chicken got to lay her eggs, got to lay her eggs, and then the cockroach were winning. The cockroach was winning for a long time. Then chicken came and basically get rid of all the cockroaches, and then they lost. They got wiped out, but they had a good run. And then what happened now? This chicken does turn big, and when they turn big and ripe enough, they might get killed as well, turn into food for the humans to eat. So they had their run as well, and they get to do that. But as I said, that's all the symbiotic stuff would work, even though it's not that dark. It's just that each business will be basically teaching you a skill that you just bring over to the bigger company to add to that skill, and then maybe that bigger company is going to teach you the other skill that you're going to bring it to another bigger company, so that by the time I reach the last big company, the last big company will be like the people that you will be that will be the leader of the next pandemic or something like that. The people that we're going to say, okay, yeah, these are who we're going to send out to deal. Just like in the work that I'm doing now, the leads, the leads are the best people. The leads were best. The leads that are teaching me how to actually do this work now. They were rookies as well that had no idea how to talk to people as well, and they came in and they did it and learned, and they pushed through and lasted a year, and they honed their craft so much that they become the leaders of us, me, the new person that's coming in and teaching me, and they teaching me well, and I'm getting better at the craft as well. So maybe 1 year now, 1 year from now, I became a person that's teaching a new person that's coming in, and then not only that, those persons that were teaching me, they gone up to another level. If I become their level, they get promoted to another level, or they can leave and do something bigger. So that's how the symbiotic relationship goes. Each one teach one, no? Each one person teach another person something so that they could improve, and then they come around and basically able to teach you that doesn't know it, and then you can basically, when you know it, you can basically add something bigger to that knowledge as well, and become maybe better able to teach it better than I did, and stuff like that. So I said that the symbiotic thing is, you have to see it. I could tell you, if you listen to it now, you can get a rough idea, but you have to really see it. You have to really see it. When you see it, that's when you really get it. You'll be like, yes, I get it now. I get it. But you won't get it as yet. You might get it. You might get it. You might see you might hear the vision. You hear the vision, but it's nothing like seeing it. It's nothing like seeing it. All right. So that's basically for this episode. I look forward for the next episode. Mhm.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
13 week 95 experience. Now this week is a very different week, because we're not officially doing the work. We're on teams now, and funny enough, so like those of us that made it out of the training phase, what happened was like four of us out of the team that came out of the same training group is now, right. It's not, four of them are on different teams now. So what happened was, when we are training, we were on basically the same team doing the work. What happened now is that four of them went on different teams now to actually do the same work, but they are on different leaders are supervising them. So that's different. And what happened is that we're still moving around, we're still moving up. And what happened is this week, So like if you remember in the 12 week we mentioned